What is going on, Bucs fans and CFP fans? Evan Wanish here, back at you with another video talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And today, we're going to be going over the best and the worst from the Buccaneers' Week 1 victory over the Atlanta Falcons. A thrilling victory, a last-second victory, you could say, as Falcons kicker Younghoe Koo misses the kick that would have sent the game to overtime in the final seconds. The Buccaneers escape with a 23-20 win to start off the season 1-0 for the fourth straight season. I'm not alone. Joining me today is my CFP co-host, Mr. Rhett Matthew. Rhett, how are you doing today? And what were your overall thoughts on the Buccaneers starting off 1-0?
I am doing well. I'm doing about as good as I can be because it's also the return, the first time this 2025 season, of Victory Monday for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and a thriller, no doubt, as you had mentioned. That fourth quarter may have shaved a few years off of my life, if we're being honest with you. But 23-20, the Buccaneers survive Atlanta off of the leg of Younghoe Koo. I'm used to that scenario playing out where the Buccaneers lose off of the leg of Younghoe Koo. So I'm happy to see that it turned out in the Buccaneers' favor. A win is a win is a win, and I don't think anybody's ever upset with 1-0.
Yeah, for sure. And actually shortchanged the Buccaneers. It's their fifth straight start with a 1-0, so not four. Apologies there. But let's get right into it. We're going to start with the best, and we're going to start on the offensive side of the ball. We're going to talk about the guy who found the end zone twice, including the game-winning touchdown. That is rookie wide receiver Emeka Egbuka making his NFL debut today. Emeka Egbuka came in and played well and had a big role, right? Jalen McMillan out for that game. Mike Evans there. Chris Godwin's still out, though. So Emeka Egbuka, essentially the wide receiver, too, and he did not disappoint. Scored the Buccaneers' first touchdown of the season also, but then scored the one late to give the Bucs the lead with, I believe, 59 seconds left. Emeka Egbuka was really good, showcased a lot of good things on Sunday, and I think the future is pretty bright.
Yeah, and we say it all the time, but that's a draft pick by Jason Light that continues to age better by the day. A.J. Terrell, the other Atlanta defenders in that secondary, I thought they did a pretty decent job handling Mike Evans. I know that he still finished with 5 receptions, had over 50 yards on the day, so he got a couple of catches. But, Emeka Egbuka was able to just showcase why the Buccaneers drafted him. He is another explosive presence in that wide receiver room. And, that 30-yard dart from Baker Mayfield over the middle for Emeka Egbuka's first overall career touchdown, it's a thing of beauty. And I hope that we get used to seeing that kind of production from this guy all season long, because that's why you drafted him. That's the kind of talent that he has coming from Ohio State. He's in the record books all over the place over there as well. So, there's a lot to like with this debut performance from Egbuka. He was arguably the most consistently good guy on the offensive side of the ball for the Bucs in Week 1.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly why he's the first guy we're talking about when we're talking about the best of Week 1 for this Buccaneers offense. So there's a few things that the Bucs are going to want to obviously correct on the offensive side of the ball, but Egbuka certainly made a pretty strong impression. Let's head over to the defensive side of the ball here and talk about a positive. And this player, it wasn't like he made, an interception or a fumble or fumble recovery or a sack or anything like that, but he made one of the most critical plays the entire game. It's not going to show up on the stat sheet, but Antoine Winfield Jr. in this game here. The Falcons, of course, Chase McLaughlin misses the extra point. The Falcons have a chance to tie the game with a field goal, but take the lead and essentially win the game with a touchdown. And there's a guy wide open. Well, with seconds left, I think it was like 15 seconds left or something. And Antoine Winfield Jr. comes over and knocks the ball out of his hands. Might get a PBU there. I'm not 100% sure. I know I said it wouldn't show up on the stat sheet. Might have showed up on the stat sheet. But regardless, Antoine Winfield Jr. makes a clutch play to save the game for the Buccaneers. Yes, Atlanta did end up getting able to try a field goal. But, look, he might have walked in the end zone if it wasn't for Antoine Winfield Jr. So, shout out to him. Like I said, it wasn't like he was all over the place, interception here, sack there, but he made arguably the most critical play of the game.
Yeah, and big-time contact on that play, no flags, so you'd love to see
clean,
it.
Completely clean. Yeah.
The referee's letting him play a bit there, and really a good return to form for Antoine Winfield, who is looking to carry that consistency into this season. Just 2 years ago, he was the best safety in the NFL. The Buccaneers compensated him for it, and he battled some injuries in 2024. He was not necessarily the same player. Good player, just had a down year. So looking to bounce back, and I think this was one hell of a start for Antoine Winfield Jr., one of the leaders in this secondary for plays just like the one you mentioned.
No, yeah, for sure. And also, speaking of mention, I want to give an honorable mention here. Shout out to Hassan Reddick, who had the Buccaneers' only sack on the day. Hassan Reddick, obviously, the Bucs have some high expectations for Reddick. They're hoping he can really help their pass rush there. So it was good to see him get to the quarterback. Now, let's move on to the worst. And look, we don't like the bash guys, right? And look, a win is a win, right? The Bucs are 1-0. But unfortunately, there are a few things. And we do have to mention, and I want to preface it with this, that he made some throws, right? But Baker Mayfield, there was a few decisions that he made in the game that were risky, very risky. The Falcons had their hands on a couple of balls that could have been picked and they weren't. There was inaccuracies by Baker Mayfield. His inaccuracy, he missed Kate Otten on a wide open, would have been a walk-in touchdown, missed him completely. I mean, it wasn't even close. And a few other times he was inaccurate as well. Not the cleanest game by Baker. Did some stuff with his legs, but again, you need him to be better. Will say again, don't want to completely bash him. He made the throws, right? He made some throws. The first one to Ibuka was a dime. The second one to Ibuka, I think, was even better. But you do need him to play a little bit better here in these games.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, he's able to make these throws and make these plays, but some of the miscues he had in week one were the kind of throws that you just expect your QB1 to make more times than not. Regardless of week one, ring rust, he's making that throw in week one or week 17, one of our callers said on the post-game show. So I agree with that sentiment. I think Baker has shown an ability, especially during his time in Tampa, to do particularly well at shaking off some of those errors early on. We talked about the happy feet early on in this game, kind of being a little restless in the pocket. He was able to overcome it just enough down the stretch, but outside of that, there were, the dropped interceptions that we talked about, probably 3 or 4 dropped interceptions for the Atlanta defense. You'd like to see him settle down. Maybe the offensive line mix-up has a little bit to do with it. Maybe he settles in a little bit more once he gets Tristan Wirfs back in his blind side. Because, that's not just a guy out there. That is Tristan Wirfs, probably one of the best left tackles in the NFL. So maybe that'll change things, but it's going to be a process to see how Baker can carry himself in weeks 2 and weeks 3. Again, as we continue to wait for the return of Tristan Wirfs.
Yeah, and look, I'm not really concerned about Baker or anything like that. Just noted, didn't have the best game on Sunday. Let's move on to the defensive side of the ball here. Another guy who it was a struggle for and actually got benched during the game. Ended up coming back in for a little bit, but played so bad. It was so bad that the Buccaneers coaching staff, Todd Bowles, decided like this guy's got to sit for a minute here. That is linebacker Servatier Dennis. Misses a tackle on Bijan Robinson early in the game, allows Robinson to get that 50-yard touchdown. And then later on in the game, about the third quarter, loses Robinson on a crucial third down. Bijan goes for about 25 yards or so. And after that, Todd Bowles yanked him, sat for a little bit. Deion Jones came in and played a little bit. Gervais Dennis did come back. He did make, I believe, a run stop.
Yep.
Later on in the game. But the Bucs are going to need him better. Like KJ Britt was okay at defending the run. It just, pass coverage was an issue. And I understand that Bijan Robinson's a really good running back, but the Bucs are going to need their linebackers to be much better in the coverage than they were last year. And so far, Servatier Dennis did not pass the first test he had.
Yeah, and Servatier Dennis is a guy that the Bucs have made apparent. They're putting a lot of faith in him this season. He is, supposed to be the next running mate next to Levante David, who may be retiring after this season as well. So if Servatier Dennis continues to struggle this season and we don't necessarily see him come around, you start talking about linebacker being at the top of the Buccaneers big board in rounds 1, in rounds 2. So, that's going to be a discussion to monitor throughout the season, but you hope to see him bounce back. I think week 1, I really want to give him the benefit of the doubt here, simply because the Buccaneers were at a point where he started this game. He reached that point by the faith that this front office and this coaching staff had in him. Missed a lot of 2024 due to injury, but the time that he was on the field early, it seemed to be enough for the Buccaneers to kind of like what he had in his toolkit there, so to say. So I'd like to see him bounce back. I think, as you mentioned, a big thing about this is the fact that he was benched, came back into the game, and still made a play. That, to me, spoke volumes, because he very easily could have settled in and just gone away. But he stepped up, tried to answer for some of those mistakes early on. He's a young player, still a little bit green. I want to see him I want to see what he looks like 4 or 5 weeks from now. So going to be watching Servatier Dennis.
Season, there's going to be ups and downs for a lot of guys, right? There's going to be times where Baker Mayfield, we talk about him on the best side of this list, and maybe a guy like Shavazzi Dennis can end up on the best side of this list as well. It's week one. There's a lot of football left to be played, but let us know who you thought played the best or played the worst in this game here. There's obviously always positives from a loss and negatives from a win, so not everything's going to be perfect, but we're curious to hear what you guys thought of the game, who you guys thought stood out in this one, who you thought maybe needs to play a little bit better. But thank you all for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and go Bucs.